Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something super fascinating. We're unpacking exactly how digital platforms and artificial intelligence are fundamentally transforming humanistic pursuits, and ultimately, how we learn. If you've ever wondered how the massive shift from physical books to glowing screens changes not just what we read, but how we actually think, well, you are in the perfect place.
We have a really brilliant roadmap for today. We're going to hit the AI ethics dilemma, the shift from text to hypertext, the pedagogical salad bowl, opening the closed text, and finally, the leap from consumption to creation. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The AI ethics dilemma. Let's start with a literal matter of life and death, and how it directly connects to our digital future. Imagine this. A self-driving car's brakes suddenly fail. It absolutely has to crash. So, who should it save? Does it swerve to hit a pedestrian to save the passengers? What if the pedestrian is elderly, but the passengers are kids? This is the core of the moral machine experiment. It's this brilliant, interactive scenario designed to force humans into making incredibly tough calls. It doesn't look for one correct answer, but rather it reveals the messy, complex patterns in our own moral preferences.
When you look at the actual data from the experiment, it turns out our moral choices are rarely objective. The results showed clear leanings. People heavily prioritize humans over animals and lean really strongly towards saving females, younger folks, fit individuals, and people with quote-unquote higher social value. Oh, and we definitely prefer saving a higher quantity of lives. Basically, human values are incredibly complex and biased. Yet, these are the exact values that will eventually be programmed into artificial intelligence.
So here's the catch. Before we can program machines to behave ethically, we really need to completely reconsider how we're educating the digital natives who are actually going to build, program, and live alongside them. If human morality is this nuanced, the education of the humans behind these machines absolutely cannot remain static.
Which brings us to our next topic. Section 2. From text to hypertext.
Think about how we used to learn. It was all about traditional printed text, totally linear, right? You opened a book, started on page 1, and read through to the end within fixed physical boundaries. But today, students are dealing with hypertext. They don't process things in straight lines anymore. It's a web of interconnected links. They move seamlessly across multiple sources by tapping, scrolling, zooming. They're navigating an entire ecosystem, not just reading a flat page. Because of this huge shift in how information is consumed, educators simply can't rely solely on the physical classroom anymore. Teachers really have to build a personal digital space, whether that's a blog or a digital portfolio. It's a hub to share learning materials, publish lectures, hand out extra reading, and organize assignments. It keeps communication open, archives academic work, and builds an independent scholarly presence. Basically, learning doesn't just stop the second the bell rings, it becomes a continuous, accessible loop.
So how is this digital presence actually built? Section 3. The pedagogical salad bowl. The source material introduces this fantastic concept called the salad bowl model. Rather than forcing everybody onto one clunky, monolithic platform, effective digital teaching creates a mix. Just like a real salad bowl combines different ingredients to make a great dish, this approach mixes the right technological ingredients, like Google Drive for storage, Classroom for management, you name it, tailored specifically for the varying needs of different students.
And what's really fascinating here is how blending synchronous and asynchronous methods directly solves some massive accessibility issues. Synchronous learning is great. That's your live Zoom or Google Meet classes with real-time interaction. But what happens if a student has terrible Wi-Fi or a crazy schedule? Boom, asynchronous learning steps in. By providing recorded lectures, transcripts, and videos for flexible access, education instantly becomes so much more equitable and adaptable.
When you start leveraging these collaborative tools, it turns a simple storage space into an active, buzzing classroom. Imagine students using Google Docs for simultaneous, real-time writing where a teacher gives instant feedback, or jumping into spreadsheets to collaboratively flip passive sentences into active ones. There's even the use of auto-transcription tools. Language learners can instantly compare how they speak with the written forms to improve comprehension. It's a total game changer.
The source also highlights this incredibly innovative solution, the DIY glassboard. Look, one of the biggest bummers with online teaching is losing eye contact when a teacher turns around to write on a whiteboard. Well, the glassboard elegantly solves that. It's a transparent LED board. The teacher writes directly on it while looking right through the glass at the camera. It's the perfect proof that technology should solve actual human teaching problems rather than just being flashy for the sake of it.
Now that we've got a handle on the tools, let's look at literature itself. Section 4. opening the closed text.
Historically, a book is a closed object. But with digital pedagogy, we blow the closed text wide open. Let's take the myth of Icarus. Instead of just reading a one-line literary reference and moving on, a student takes a journey. Step 1, they read the reference. Step 2, they click a hyperlink and instantly, they're looking at a high-res painting on Google Arts and Culture. Step 3, they explore a historical digital archive to get the full mythological context. A single word literally becomes an exploratory gateway, branching out into art and history.
And taking that idea of decentralizing the author even further brings us to a wildly disruptive question for our time: artificial intelligence generating its own literature. We are living in an era where AI can write stories and compose poems. It begs the question, can you even distinguish between human and machine poetry anymore?
Now, a lot of people panic about this, but rather than treating AI like a threat to traditional learning, educators can use these tools to spark some incredible debates. Ask your class, what actually makes a poem human? Can a machine genuinely be creative, or is it just pattern matching? Does a poem's value drop if you find out an algorithm wrote it? What even happens to the traditional idea of an author? It's literally the perfect way to get students thinking deeply about originality.
This level of analytical empowerment brings us to our final section: consumption to creation.
Look, if the way students learn has completely transformed, then how we grade them has to transform too. We've got to move away from relying on high-stakes, stressful final exams that just measure memorization on one random Tuesday. Instead, the focus is shifting to digital portfolios. Using platforms like Google Sites, students can document their continuous intellectual and creative development over an entire semester. It values the journey and the process, not just a one-off destination. Because of these tools, students today are definitely not just passively consuming content anymore. They are full-blown digital publishers. They're creating blogs, hosting podcasts, shooting videos, designing collaborative documents, building websites, and leveraging AI for massive creative projects. They are actively interpreting the world and adding their own voices to the global conversation.
And because the students have evolved, the educator's role has to evolve too. They're no longer just standing at the front of the room acting as a simple transmitter of facts. First, they become a guide and facilitator. Then they level up to a digital content curator, helping filter out all the noise on the internet. And ultimately, they reach step 4, becoming a learning designer, a mentor who builds immersive pathways for students to navigate this crazy digital landscape safely and effectively.
It all really boils down to this amazing thought from our source material. In an age of digital natives, the future of education may not lie in abandoning the book, but in placing the book within a much larger network of texts, images, technologies, people, and ideas. I just love that. Technology isn't here to replace our pedagogy, it's here to vastly expand the entire universe around it.
So I want to leave you with a question to chew on as we move deeper into this AI-driven, hyper-connected world. How thoughtfully will you use technology to make learning deeper, more inclusive, and more meaningful? Thank you so much for hanging out with us for this explainer. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and definitely keep your eyes on the incredible digital network around you.